For my conditioning plan, I chose to condition my dog to sit on scales through clicker training and target training. For the target, I'll be using my hand, and for the reinforcer, I'll be using small cubes of meat, which I've chosen to use these little chicken balls, as well as cubes of just beef. Each of my training sessions were no longer than 15 minutes and no shorter than 3 to 5 minutes. This was due to the attention span of my dog and the enthusiasm that he showed. After each training session, I would play with my dog so that he knows that training equals fun. Where's your toy, buddy? Where's your toy? Where's your toy? Where's your toy? For my training plan, I have 7 approximations. Number 1 is introduce the concept of clicker training. Number 2 is introduce my hand as the target. Number 3, presenting my hand in different ways. Number 4, adding a cue or command. Number 5, introducing my dog to the scales. Number 6, getting my dog on the scales. And number 7, getting my dog to sit on the scales on cue rather than shaping. Approximation 1. Introduce the concept of clicker training to my dog. This is done by having my dog in front of me and simply clicking, then giving a treat. This is repeated so that it programs into my dog's head that whenever he hears a click, he knows he is getting a treat. Clicking and giving a treat 10 times, 2 to 3 times a day, so that it really programs into his head. To determine whether my dog is conditioned to the clicker as the reinforcer, click the clicker and delay the treat a few seconds. If you see him startle and actively look for the treat, you will know the signal has become a conditioned reinforcer. Now I can establish a behaviour. We call this shaping. In the next video, I'll be showing you approximations 2 and 3. Number 2. Introduce my hand as the target. Having my dog in front of me and holding my palm out to him. When my dog touches my hand, click and reward. The clicker's value is in shaping new behaviour. Always click immediately when the desired action is performed so that he begins to understand that when he hears the click, that means he has done the right action and will be rewarded. Keep repeating this until my dog repeatedly touches my hand for a reward. It may take a while for him to understand that I want him to touch my hand, and this is why you do short lessons so that he doesn't get frustrated. Once Buddy has been touching my hand a few touches in a row, end the lesson and praise him. Always end the lesson while you are ahead, so that Buddy leaves the lesson knowing that he is doing it right, rather than when he is starting to do things wrong. Ending the lesson by playing with him will also help to keep the training sessions fun. The purpose of using my palm as a target is not to teach Buddy the trick, but to show you how to use a conditioned reinforcer to shape behaviour and how effective this kind of reinforcement can be. During each training session, present your hand for Buddy to target 15 to 30 times. Outside of training sessions, you can also present your hand just once or twice right before you do something your dog likes. Practice hand targeting before feeding him dinner, throwing his favourite ball, taking him on walks, and playing with him outside. Approximation 3. Presenting my hand in different ways. When Buddy touches your hand 9 out of 10 times in a row, this will normally be after a few lessons, you can start to present your hand in different ways. Offer your palm in front of his nose, but a few inches to the right. Then present your palm a few inches to the left. Then try holding it lower, closer to the floor. Present your hand 5 to 10 inches away so that Buddy has to stand up and move towards it to make contact. Finally, try holding your palm up above his head so that he has to reach up with his nose to touch it. Always remember to click the instant you feel your dog's nose make contact with your hand, and then immediately deliver a tasty treat from the other hand. If he seems confused at any point, go back to presenting your palm right in front of his nose, just a few inches away, to remind him what to do. If he still seems confused, call it quits for a while. A short break will often improve a dog's focus.
If I was a flower growing wild and free, all I'd want is you to be my sweet honeybee. And if I was a tree growing tall and green, all I'd want is you to shade me and be my leaves. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea. If you were a river in the mountains tall, the rumble of your water would be my call. If you were the winter, I know I'd be the snow, just as long as you're with me when the cold winds blow. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea. If you were a wink, I'd be a nod. If you were a seed, well, I'd be a pod. If you were a floor, I'd wanna be the rug. And if you were a kiss, I know I'd be a hug. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea. If you were the wood, I'd be the fire. If you were the love, I'd be the desire. If you were a castle, I'd be your moat. And if you were an ocean, I'd learn to float. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea.
Approximation 4. Adding a cue or command. Once Buddy reliably touches your hand when you hold it out to him, you can add a verbal command or cue. If you plan to use hand targeting in other situations, you can use a word like touch. Any cue is fine as long as you use it consistently. First, say your cue, touch, as you are presenting your hand to him. The instant he does, click, then give him a treat from your other hand. You could also choose to add your cue at the moment your dog touches your hand, but this may interrupt with the bridge, which is the clicker sound. After repeating this exercise for a few sessions, Buddy will start to understand what the new cue means. You'll know he's got it when you say touch and he immediately approaches you, ready to target your hand as soon as you offer it. If he does not touch your hand on command, repeat previous approximation.
Touch.
There's a note on the table said I ain't coming back.
Touch.
Till your sorry ass is gone. I'm tired of you cheating and running
Touch.
around. Never saw the wrong in anything you've done. Whiskey's gone, but I ain't leaving. Gotta be a bottle in the bag.
Touch.
Whiskey's gone, but I ain't leaving.
Touch.
Gotta get this devil off my.
Touch.
Well, I stumbled my way down
Touch.
to the local bar where I saw the devil in my glass.
Touch.
The bartender told me it was time to go. I told him that he could lick my sack.
Touch.
Whiskey's gone, but I ain't leaving. There's gotta
Touch.
be a way to get it back. Whiskey's gone, but I ain't leaving.
Touch.
Gotta get this devil off my.
Touch. 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 Touch.
I can drive. I can drive. Go!
Touch.
Approximation 5. Introducing my dog to the scales. Introduce my dog to the scales by sitting them in front of him. Every time he goes to inspect the scales, click and give him a treat. When he does this a few times, only click if he starts to touch the scales. Repeat this a few sessions until he understands that touching the scales is a good thing. Approximation 6. Getting my dog on the scales. To move Buddy onto a scale, simply use your palm like a magnet. Here's how it works. Walk up to the scale with him, say the cue touch, and then hold out your open hand. He will then move towards your palm to touch it with his nose. As he does, start to move your palm towards the scale. He'll follow your hand just like a magnet, and you can use it to guide him into position. When all 4 of his feet are on the scale, stop moving your hand and let him touch your palm with his nose. When he does, click and give him a few tasty treats as he sits there while eating them, as you can record the weight. Approximation 7. Getting my dog to sit on the scales on cue rather than shaping. Once you have repeated Approximation 6 for quite a few sessions until it becomes automatic for your dog, you can begin to add a cue as your dog sits on the scales every time. This will mean you'll have to eliminate the cue touch because you won't be getting your dog to touch your hand anymore. Instead, you will hold your hand in the direction of the scales, but a little further back than what you would be if he were to touch your hand. He will think at the start that you want him to touch your hand, but when he realizes that you aren't clicking, he may sit on the scales as he would before. The hand outstretched will act as a gesture to your dog. If Approximation 6 was programmed into his head enough, he'll easily begin to understand that you want him to sit on the scale instead of touching your hand. Once he hears the cue repeated every time he sits on the scales, start to reduce the proximity in which you put your hand as the gesture. Leave a gap each time after a few repetitions until you can just point at the scales and say cue. The cue can be something simple as on. This approximation will be longer than the rest and may result in having to go back to Approximation 6. Take this approximation much slower and have more sessions than you would with the rest of the approximations.
World away for a minute, pretend I don't live in it. Sunshine gonna wash my blues away. Had sweet love, but I lost it. She got too close, so far, and now I'm lost in the world, trying to find me a better way. Wishing I was knee deep in the water somewhere, got the blue sky breeze, and it don't seem fair. Only worry in the world is the tide gonna reach my chair. Sunrise, there's a fire in the sky. Never been so happy, never felt so high. And I think I might have found me my own kind of paradise.
Wrote a note, said be back in a minute. Bought a boat and I sailed off in it. Don't think anybody's gonna miss me anyway. Mind on a permanent vacation. The ocean is my only medication. Wishes that condition ain't ever gonna go away.
'Cause now I'm knee deep in the water somewhere. Got the blue sky breeze blowing wind through my hair. Only worry in the world is the tide gonna reach my chair. Sunrise, there's a fire in the sky. Never been so happy, never felt so high. And I think I might have found me my own kind of paradise. This champagne shore washing over me.
It's a sweet, sweet life, living by the salty sea.
One